Good evening, YouTube. I'm getting ready to start in on this Power Wagon frame repair. I've got a couple pieces of stuff laying around here. I think we can make it work. The entire side of this frame I don't believe is rotted. Like I said, I got to peel the inner frame out of it. It's got two frames, a double-walled frame. And I'm sure that's what rotted it out to begin with. It's mainly just on one side. And again, this truck's not going to be doing what it was built to do. It's not going to be hauling a bunch of weight. It's not going to be going crazy. I mean, I might drive it through the woods and stuff and run it through the creek, but it's not going to be as bad as it was with the way it was intended to be used when it was built. So you can see this side of the frame is the worst of it. We got this cover right here that's rusted. We'll have to lop that off and repair that. The inner frame, you can see it now. This is the secondary frame in here. That'll have to be peeled out all the way up past that crossmember. So we'll have to pull this transfer case crossmember out so we can cut that out, rip this center piece out. But I think the rest of the frame's decent up top. So what I'm thinking is we can change this top corner, leaving these cab mounts and bed mounts where they're at. We can change it all the way up to about this point right here. So about 40 inches of the bottom rail. We might even go past this cross member as well, just to get rid of that heave. But like this cover pan back here where it's heaved up from rust jack, we'll heat that, knock it all back down, and get it cleaned up. So what I'm going to end up using is I have this piece of tubing over here that's got about the right radius of that frame rail. Right here it's a fairly heavy tube, but I think we can take this section out of this tube and repair that bottom corner of that frame. I mean, other than that, the rest of the frame is fairly solid. I mean, it's pitted, obviously. It's 77 years old, so it's normal, I guess. But like this front cross member here is perfect. I mean, there's not really nothing wrong with it. The rest of the frame's in really good shape. It's just that one spot, one side. I mean, it's good from there forward. It's just from right in front of this cross member all the way back to where that, pretty much where that inner frame section stops. So, keep following along. We're going to get started on this project really soon. And I will hopefully show you as much as I can of me cutting it apart and fixing it. Some of it will be boring. I mean, it's just going to be your normal draw line, cut it, you know. But I'm going to try to show you how I'm going to fit the piece of metal in there. And yeah, so sooner we get that fixed, sooner we can paint the frame, the sooner we can rebuild the axles and get those back underneath and start moving this project along. It's kind of a slow process, getting everything in order. And you know, plus I don't have $1 million laying around either just to throw at it all the time. You kind of just nickel and dime it and get pieces by pieces. And I did find another cab. I'm not sure if I'm going to go get it or not. It's relatively cheap and it's in a lot better shape than my cab currently. But I don't know if I want to do that. I think I want to keep the original cab and fix it and put another one back on the road like it should be, instead of trashing this cab and doing all that. So yes, please stick around and we'll get this frame fixed up and start moving forward on this Power Wagon. Good evening, YouTube. So we're getting back on this Power Wagon frame, and we got some cutting to do. I got some metal to put in this frame and get it back into decent shape. Obviously it's not going to be 100% brand new or perfect, but it'll be good enough to drive it and run it around, maybe haul a couple light things here and there. But so what we got is we've got a lot of rust on the bottom side. Well, this is the bottom. The frame's upside down currently. I've got part of the inner frame out, at least to there. It's laying down there on the ground. We'll have to make a new inner frame. I got the bottom of that cross member off because these corners right here, they got some rot in them. So I'm going to have to rebuild the corners of this cross member here. And then The other flange, the top flange, is actually in fairly decent shape. I mean, there's some pitting and stuff in it, obviously. So what I'm thinking is, instead of completely having to drill all these new holes and everything else, there's no need to replace this part of the frame. So I'm going to cut this bottom ledge off this frame, and it'll come up and around this leaf spring hanger, and we'll weld a new corner in that, and we'll patch this back in and get this all tied back in together. The frame makes a bend right here where this line's at. It starts tapering in, so I'm going to have to make a section here, and then there'll have to be a section here. We're going to have to probably remove this transfer case cross member so we can get a new inner frame in behind it. I don't know if you can see all the frames. The inner frame's pulled away and it's rotted out. So, oops. We definitely have our work cut out for us. It's going to take a little bit of time. So I'm going to work on this here and there. I got some parts coming for my 4th gen truck. The rocker panels are completely rotted out of it, inners and outers, so I'll video that too. I got to put new inner and outer rockers in it and get it back into good condition again. It's a good truck. It don't have very many miles on it. It's just 2011, so it's getting fairly old, and the Ohio weather is definitely taking its toll. I believe they was pretty much gone though when I got it. It was just kind of hidden until your toe went through it. I mean, the truck came from Canada originally. It was originally bought in Canada, and so it's lived its whole life in the snow belt, and hopefully we can get it fixed up and get it treated really well underneath the truck and preserve it for quite a few more years, because those things are not getting any cheaper. But I'm going to figure out exactly what I'm going to do here. I've got a plan, but I've got to get the frame braced up. I got a piece of channel down here. I think I'm going to figure out how to stitch weld that underneath the bottom side of this frame, just to give it some support while we cut this out and get this piece replaced. And then same goes for this section as well. We'll get this replaced as well. So yeah, stick around. I'll bring you around for some of that, and we'll get this frame fixed. Once the frame's fixed, we can get it flipped back over, go through it, make sure everything else is good on it, and we'll get this frame painted. And then like I said, we'll work on my 4th gen Ram. We'll get some new rockers and stuff in that. And then we got to get these axles rebuilt and get them back under that. So stick around. I'll bring you along, and I'll be right back for you. It might be a little bit for me, but be right back with some progress on this and what I'm planning, what I'm doing, and how I'm doing it. So stick around. All right, so a little bit of an update. We got a section of frame cut out. I decided not to brace it. It didn't move at all, so I think it'll be just fine. I got the section of frame cut out. We're going to go ahead and clean this up. We're going to repair this top section of frame, and then we'll get in here and figure out what we're doing here and get this all made up like it's supposed to. Punch 2 holes in it, blah, 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 put it together, so on and so forth. I got this piece of 3/16 plate here. It's got a 90-degree bend on one side. We're going to rip the section of width that we need off of it and weld that into that spot, and all should be good. This, like I said, I know it's not frame material, but it's been done 1,000 times, and this truck isn't going to be getting used like it used to be anyway. It's not my only truck. I'm just going to drive it around, put it around, haul a couple 2x4s here and there maybe, and that's about it. So we're going to fix it and get it as tough as we can. It's going to be better than rust, that's for sure. I think it'll be perfectly fine. I've been told you can't make certain things, but that's not always necessarily true. I had a drive shaft I needed built for my little truck out there, and obviously the Cummins drive shaft's huge compared to that 5.9 drive shaft, but I wanted to adapt the Cummins yoke to the 5.9 drive shaft and to the gas drive shaft for the transmission. And he said, oh, it can't be done, can't be done. That's what the drive shaft shop told me. Well, I machined a reducer, pressed it all together, welded it up, and that thing's been holding, you know, hundreds of foot-pounds of torque for a long time, and I beat the crap out of that truck and it hasn't broke yet. So I think we'll figure it out. Here we go with this part. So like I said, we're gonna rip that piece down and start fitting it into this frame. We'll get it all welded in, make a new bottom frame section. Once that's done, we can repair that cross member, get that all tied back into the frame. And then once this is all tied back together, then we'll start up here and work this section of the frame. We'll work each section individually. I don't have to cut this section of frame off here. This part's okay. That's just the inner frame that I got to get out. So we should be fine. I should be able to, this is all rust jacked up from that inner frame swelling. So we'll have to knock that back down flush when we get this piece in here. And then we'll get that cross member out, and then we will bend out our new inner frame section and get it inside there. And we should be ready to go. So I'll bring you back as soon as I start on the next process. Good morning, YouTube. All right, we're back on this Power Wagon frame here for a little bit. We do have the bottom rail replaced. Well, it's the top right now, but technically it's the bottom because it's upside down. I cut out and bent up my inner frame section. We're getting ready to cut a piece of this off right now so we can get it into the inside of the frame rail. Start drilling all of our holes to attach it. It'll go right in there. Once that's in, I got some more, a little bit more repair work up here to do, and then we've got to fix this cross member. We got to put new ears on it right here up into the frame and build a new shroud that comes up in to the frame, and it all bolts together there. So, well, it riveted before, but I'm going to bolt it. So we need a piece of this cut off at 32.5 inches from the tip of that 45 right there, 32.5, to fit inside there for that section of the frame. I'm kind of going about this piece by piece just so I keep the frame as straight as possible. Probably not going to be perfect, but for what it is, this truck will never know a difference. So it's not like it can do 70 mile an hour going down the interstate or nothing. I just want it to be safe so we can drive it. I just don't want it to be rusted, that's all. All right, so let's fire up the saw and we will get this cut. All right, I got a little loud there towards the end. And grab our part. It's probably going to be a little tight getting it in there. At least that's what I want anyway. Yep, going to be a little snug. So let me work with this, get it worked back into the frame, and I will bring you right back. All right, so the first section of inner frame is in. Here it is. It's temporarily bolted in there right now. Now I've got to work on this section of frame. So I had to put it in two pieces because there's a bend right there in the frame and it kind of necks in a little bit. You can see it if I hold it here. So I've got that right on this curve right here. So now we can fix this part. Once we get the inner frame in it, we'll weld this seam together so it's one piece again, essentially. Right here, this is a bed mount. I've got the pieces. This bolts right there. We'll worry about that later. And then we also have a cab mount. Oops. If I can keep a hold of stuff. We got a cab mount that'll go right there as well. So it's turning out pretty good. Not too shabby for pretty much just fixing it with stuff I have laying around. And we'll get it repaired. It'll be just as strong as it used to be, and we can drive this thing around hopefully without failure. But that bottom edge was so gone that I just didn't trust to leave it. I mean, it probably would have been okay because, like I said, I'm not planning on doing a lot of work with this thing. So this is the old section. It's pretty thin, a little rusted. So I just wanted to change it just to be sure that we wasn't gonna have no problems. Last thing you want is the frame to break in half after putting all this work into something. So now I got to figure out exactly how I want to do that little section there, and that one involves some more welding. And once that's fixed, then we'll move on to this cross member right here, getting these built back under so we can get them bolted into the frame, along with the cover that goes up under there with it. So yeah, and once that's fixed, I think the frame's ready to go. We can give it a paint job and start rebuilding axles and get all that stuff back underneath of it. So we're getting closer. At least we're headed the right direction now. All right, let me figure out exactly what I'm going to do there, and I will bring you back as soon as I figure it out, and let you know how I'm going to do that. All right, see you in a minute. All right, we've got the inner frame the rest of the way in. I still got to clean up the welds and stuff, and but we do have the inner frame in. We have that upper piece of the inner frame repaired. Now we got to move on to this cross member right here and get it repaired. And then we just got to do weird things like these old rusted fender mounts. We got to cut the bolts, knock them off both sides. I also got to fix this where somebody welded this chunk of flat bar on here. We'll patch that up, cut that up, patch that up. We'll knock these old junk bump stops off, and then I think that's about it. Should be about ready for paint. We're getting closer. Every little bit counts. So now I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do here. I think what I want to do is I'll make a piece that sets into this, finishes that hole out. We'll get that chunk welded in, and then we can put a piece from here back under the frame. Same with this. And then we also got to make this piece here comes up and slips under the frame as well. It kind of sandwiches here, and we'll bolt it through right there on the frame. This has a little dish in it. I'm not real concerned with making that dish into this new piece. It's kind of irrelevant, really. Like I said, I'm not going 100% factory correct. I'm going to keep it as close as I can to original, but to try to reproduce all them little tiny parts, it would just take you so much time. And I'm not going for a $100,000 truck. I'm going for a driving truck. So I'm just happy to be putting one of these back on the road. Let's get that, figure out what we're going to do there, and we'll get that welded up and fixed. And then we can knock those old fender mounts off, clean up whatever we have left to clean up, and then we'll get some paint and we can paint this thing. So I will bring you back as soon as I get some pieces made to fit that together. All right. All right, little update here. I got these side patches on the cross member. Those are welded back in place. So now we got to make the two straps that come along the top, I would say. We need to make these two pieces that go up underneath the frame there. And then we'll make this piece last. We can weld it all together. We can drill down through all of them and bolt it into place. Yeah, it's coming along. We should have this patch done today. And then we'll tinker with it and get the rest of it patched up. But also my rockers and cab corners are supposed to be here for my 4th gen today. So we're probably going to start on that project really soon and get it knocked out so that my truck is done for summer to tow the camper and all that stuff. But we are moving right along on the Power Wagon frame. One little piece at a time, we'll get it put back together. So let me get some more pieces cut for these top straps, and I'll bring you back. All right, we got our little pieces cut. Let's go ahead and get them tacked into place. Each little pieces of 1 inch flat bar, pretty much. I want to make sure I get that up fairly close to the frame. One. Let's get the other side tacked. Pretty thin. All right, once we get our next piece built, I'll then get underneath and weld the underside. Once this is all pulled together, I'll weld the underside. I'm just going to make this top plate out of 18 gauge. This is fairly thin material on the top anyways, so it must not have to be real strong. I could get this rivet, this rest of this rivet knocked out of there so I can make our skin that's going to go on the top. So once I get the skin made, I'll bring you back. All right, let's do a little bit of bump forming on the little press brake here. I'm not going to lay it out or mark it. I'm just going to kind of bump it a little bit, and we'll test fit it, bump it, test fit it until it fits pretty good. So let me get it fired up. So this does have a height adjust, a power height adjust. Let's go ahead and adjust that up. Let's see what that does. Down just a fuzz more. It's putting a little curve in it. Let's go a little bit more. See, you just slightly bump it, you can start to curve it. Let me go see how we're doing. Let me get this end. Well, that's going to stay fairly flat there. So let's see. It's pretty close. That's pretty close. I think we can work with that. Shut the machine down. I'll take you over there and show you what I got. There's Mr. Henry again. What are you doing? Sweeping my floor? Yeah? So see, we just bump formed that by eye, and it lays in there rather nicely. So now we just got to start trimming it down, tack it in place, and we'll get some holes drilled in it and get that all figured out, and I'll bring you back. All right, I think we got the major rust repaired on the Power Wagon frame. I still got to go through and clean everything up before we paint it. But the bottom rail of the frame's fixed. The inner frame is installed and repaired. The crossmember rot is cut out and repaired. And yeah, we're finally headed in the right direction. So that'll conclude this part. I think we made it pretty far on the frame. On the next episode, you'll be seeing me get it painted up and getting ready to start on the axles. But please subscribe. Please like, comment. If there's anything you guys would want to see more of or less of, let me know. I'm new to this, so I'm trying to show you guys what you want to see. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment. I'll gladly reply back to you. Please subscribe. It really does help the channel, and I really enjoy sharing my projects with you guys, and I want to continue to do so. And as an update, the next project is going to be inner and outer rockers and cab corners on my 4th gen Ram. Ohio weather tears everything up, and that's what just showed up from the FedEx man. I got inner and outer rockers, and I also have my cab corners there. So I'm going to open them up here in a little bit, check them out, make sure everything's still in good shape. But please keep following along, and we're going to keep moving along on this Power Wagon build as I get time, and I'm going to keep on sharing it with you. Thanks again.